Press the red button.
It helps to press the button.
One has to press the button. Maurice Seymour. Who would have... Did you know that Dan had ever spent time with Maurice Seymour?
I did.
1 year in Chicago.
1 year in Chicago.
I did.
Because of Maurice Seymour.
September 1947 to September 1948. The greatest year I ever spent anywhere in my life.
Why?
Well, because I'd been in the Navy for 5.5 years. I'd been in a prep school that was very strict for 6 years. I'd been in a disciplinary household. And I'd been in the fleet for, this was my escape hatch. And I had no idea what I was in for, but when I found myself in that milieu, I was like a minnow in the stream. And I just loved it, everything to do with it.
Well, how'd you stumble on Seymour?
Because he was married to the sister of one of my best friends.
Okay.
She was an actress, and anyway, and we met at a wedding of my best friend to one of the ballerinas in the
Belarus.
Belarus. And I just had no champagne to say, I'd like to work for you. Why do you want to work for me? And I said, well, because I think you're the greatest photographer I ever encountered. Because he used to send things out to his brother-in-law in the fleet, and I'd look at these and think, my God, these are so beautiful.
Yeah. Do you know why I know Maurice Seymour?
No.
His work I first saw in the Slugman collection.
No.
There are those boxes that say TV and radio personalities, and some of the most, this collection's at the workshop, and it's mostly 30s and 20s. And some of the nicest portraits in that mishmash of all these crazy personalities that nobody remembers anymore who these people are were. And it took me a long time to even make out his signature is sort of printed into the image.
Yeah.
And he did the ones at the workshop. A lot are from one of the personalities that came to be on one of the Chicago radio stations. I can't remember which one. And they would, in fact, if you've got a computer that'll get to the web, are you wireless? You can pull them up, because we put some on the VSW website. But I instantly fell in love with these things and started pulling them aside and saying, this guy, and now here you say Maurice Seymour.
Well, his real name was Maurice Zeldman. His brother was the house retoucher who was suffering from depression. Magnificent retoucher, black and white retoucher. Everything was, almost everything of any interest was 8x10 negatives. And my job was to be on the back of the camera when he started shooting, and he just had such a commanding personality, and he knew exactly what he wanted. He knew just how to control that person, get out of what they wanted, and the exposure was always whatever he squeezed the bulb, and I had to develop by inspection on these Cypress tanks about so wide. With this water off Lake Michigan and sediment in the bottom of the tank, of course, as you can imagine. And I had to develop a very dim green light at the far end. After so many minutes, I could see how they're coming along. And, you got maybe 40 8x10 negatives in that tank at one time, and they're all going to be developed by inspection and go into the next tank and all.
Wow.
And then, because he taught me how to I can load 8x10 holders faster than you can spit. And on an evening when the ballet would come up, all I did was just throwing these things in the back of the camera, pulling these, shoot. And I had to develop them all. And Sophie Tucker, his principal non-ballet customer. I remember when Sophie was at the, what was the name of the nightclub just down the street? Shapery. She'd come over after the night show with all her sequins and whatnot and her maids to take. And Seymour would greet her at the elevator and say, "Hello, Sophie, darling, you look great." And she'd say, "Cut the shit and start shooting." I tell you, it was a great education. And because he was the official photographer for the mob, too. Anytime a new restaurant would open up, we'd have to go down and close the restaurant, and we'd get dressed all in black and paint the place with light with a long exposure, put a neutral density filter over the lens, and just get this thing. And out of it would come the pictures that's going to go on the menu. Or they'd have a new girl.
That's the miscellaneous.
Yeah. Let's see, it's been so long I've forgotten how.
There's another grouping. Two up, maybe the finding aid.
Is there one that tells me photographers? Oops. Let's see if we've got a link under Seymour here.
Somebody must have dropped something edible. It must have had to been, yep. That's what it was.
Well, of the gazillion photographers that you should have worked both for Murai and Seymour, I think you've been holding out on us, Dan.
That's what Henry said.
So you might be able to correct some of the mistakes in here.
Come on. In what?
Let's see, how do I size this a little bit better, Chris? Or maybe I can't, but this one, I thought
That's
we had...
Seymour.
Yeah, of course it is. This one is Leslie Woods. Now, why did it start at 9? I never got this thing to work quite right, but... CBS. He was doing a lot of stuff with one of the CBS affiliates.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is young Lois Nixon. She's 18, has joined Jack Russell's orchestra, and is now heard as torch singer with the band in its broadcasts over the Columbia Network from Chicago. She was born in Alabama and raised in New Orleans, which accounts for her being known as the Dixie Songbird. That's the back of the picture.
Now, how the hell do you happen to have that on this machine of yours?
It's coming from our server, from stuff that Andy put online.
Oh my God!
From the Soibelman collection.
About which
So there's the back of these two guys are called Nuts to You, Ole Olson and Chick Johnson. And see, what we had to do was guess approximately the era, because the back of the news release simply said Saturday, October 20, release on Saturday, October 21st or thereafter.
Yeah, what year?
So you have to figure out what the hell year Saturday was on October the 21st.
Oh boy.
And I think we guessed...
Is that my computer?
Uh-oh, are we in trouble?
Uh-oh.
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 We're in trouble. We thought you were in the tub.
We've been quoting the act.
Go back in the bathtub.
Oh.
Who said you were clean?
How much do you want?
Why can't you use your computer?
Well, yours.
He wanted a
was
good
up.
computer.
That's right.
Oh, this was one of my favorites.
We were looking for pictures that were shot by men I used to work for in Chicago. And somehow they appeared on here.
See, there's your signature.
Yep.
And aren't these the homeliest looking...
Oh, God.
But of course they were on radio, so who cared what they looked like? But that's Grace... You want to see Grace McCarty, Holly Collins, and Ruth Doring on your computer?
No.
Oh, that's great. Oh, fantastic.
No, he had a great standard rule. You must always have twice as much light coming from in back and overhead of your subject as you have from the front, because it has to be reproduced in the newspaper and has to show.
That's a good outline. That's fantastic. Because I knew that name, but I've never really seen the work, and it's so fantastic that we have.
I think there's even more than I ever got around to scanning. Those were the Dairy Maids. So, circa 30s. Yeah, this is a nice looking down
nice.
kind of deal with the crazy floor. I can almost see that tile. But,
Oh, that is great.
I would have thought that's the kind of thing he would shoot.
Really? Well, see, this is probably earlier than when you were there.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe because it's two pianos, it's one way of doing it.
Yeah. And the back of this one says, that's Sandra Phillips and Peggy Keenan. I mean, the fact that these names just mean absolutely nothing.
Peggy Keenan rings a bell with me somehow.
You knew Peggy.
I'm trying to think, it's so long ago.
I know. Back again in a new program where Sandra Phillips left and Peggy Keenan, red-headed, not just any pianists, whose duo piano recitals have been heard for more than a year over WABC, is the Columbia Network out of Chicago. The new program is headed by Tony Wands, with whom the girls have been appearing in vaudeville for several months. It will first be heard on Sunday, August 20th at 10:45 Eastern Standard, and will be heard each Sunday thereafter at the same time, as well as on Mondays and Thursdays at 11:30. So that's... Someone pick this stuff up.
That's a nice shot. See what I mean? There's his signature.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So how many guys did he employ at that time? Just you?
His brother was the retoucher,
Uh-huh.
and he had a kid doing the developing in big Cypress tanks. And he had a secretary accountant. And there was a guy who was a bailiff in the court downtown who was his salesman to the show business people, who had been in his youth a hobo. And of course, we became great friends. And I said, is there one piece of advice that you can give me from your experience of having been a teenage hobo? I said, sure there is. I said, what is it? He said, you never get a break from the scum. Boy, was he right. That's a nice shot.
Yeah, that's a hairdo. That is a hairdo.
Yeah, that's a well-lit background.
I can accept the hairdo perfectly well.
Look at those eyes.
He used to say, come on, give me the look that counts. Or he'd say, Sylvia, call my wife, tell her I won't be home.
Radio's loveliest songbirds, that was Kay Tolan.
Don't remember.
Blonde contralto, frequently heard on Columbia programs from Chicago, just 19. They used a lot of youngsters. Kay was awarded a place on the Chicago CBS staff after she was runner-up in the WBBM auditions that sent Rowene Williams starward in the Columbia Hollywood Hotel contest. Who knows any of that stuff, It's just so much trivia.
A lot of the guys in the syndicate, the bookkeepers in that crowd, lived in the St. Clair Hotel. Well, the first week I got there was a murder in the backyard, back alley. And you'd walk through the lobby of that place and see all these suspicious-looking characters sitting around. it was straight out of a movie. I'd never been in this milieu before, and because they all knew Seymour. And whenever be a new girl come into the cosmos of the syndicate, this beautiful, beautiful girl would appear for nude photographs.
Huh.
And the kid that worked with the darkroom and I, when all the retouching was done, we'd get to deliver this to, I forget the name of the guy who ran the syndicate that was up in the east side, near the Erie Hotel. And hey kid, thank you. Hey fellas, come here. And we'd unroll this thing. That's our Sally. That's our Sally. And here you go, kid. And hand you a piece of paper. And you know what the people said on it? They said what horse was going to win the next day.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And all you had to do was put your money on it, and you knew you were going to win.
Right. Yeah.
And then there was a guy who lived in the hotel. It was named Stink Bomb Louie. Anybody that didn't play ball or pay up on time, Stink Bomb would put this thing through his front window, and nobody could go near that place for about a week before it was fumigated. So it was a world that I had, you know, Damon Runyon world.
Yeah.
But it was real.
Oh, yeah.
How long did this studio go on?
Oh, it had been going since the early 30s.
Yeah, but how long since, from 48?
Well,
Whenever you were
then
there,
after
how long ago?
I left, it wasn't a couple of years, but about 1951, his wife, George Gardner's sister, Belle, Isabella Stewart Gardner, the second,
Yeah.
she left him with the children, put him on a train and came to New York, and he came home, found nobody home, with a little note saying, good luck, pal, or something like that. And he turned the business over to his brother, who had a son who was an aspiring photographer who took over, and the studio is still going. And but Seymour set up his studio under his own name, Harry Seymour, in New York. And of course he died.
At 89.
That's 89.
He lived, his life date's 04 to 93? That's
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating.
Seymour's daughter is a darling, sweet woman who has been working at Harvard for many years in the place that takes care of all the primate monkeys that are used at the medical school. Darling, sweet woman who reveres the memory of her father. He had made for him a rig which I wish I owned. It consisted of stainless steel upright tubes with wheels on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, like the legs of that chair, only more regularly shaped. And they went up about, let's say 7 feet. And on each one, there was a 750 keg light. And so a person would sit on a movable stool, and you could have moving, sliding backgrounds. You could have a white background, a gray background, or a black background. And all you had to do was fiddle with these lights and move the person around, and it's just ideal for taking routine portraits. For Sophie Tucker, who was his biggest customer, she would have the people bringing her costumes, and we'd shoot, let's say, 12 negatives of her in one costume. And 12 and another N12, and I'm unloading and reloading these holders. I think he had about 50 holders, like, constantly. And she wanted to see proofs the next night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd be up all night developing these goddamn things. And then she wanted to have minimal retouching, so his brother would do a little minimal retouching.
Right on the negative, not on the
Oh,
print.
you're on the negative.
Yeah.
But then I would be delegated to walk down the street to Shapery and give them to her. Sophie had a maid and a wardrobe person, and then sort of a protector, if you will. But Sophie Tucker was quite something. The last of the Red Hot Mamas. She was amazing. She was one of those vivid, coarse personalities who was known for her enormous generosity to unfortunate people, particularly children.
Mm-hmm.
She had no children of her own, but she adored children. And she was something else.
Well, if anyone has a yearning for it, there is a little bit of ice cream.
Ice cream?
Ice cream.
I don't think I had any ice cream in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah?
By the way, I have a dentist friend who said to me, you like ice cream? We were having something after an evening meeting of the New England Photographic Historical Society. I went to have a little cup of coffee and whatnot. I ordered some ice cream. And he said, you're going to have ice cream? I said, yeah. And you ordered coffee? I said, yeah. He said, I'm not going to allow you to have your coffee until 5 minutes have passed between your last spoonful of ice cream. I said, what are you talking about? He said, in my dental practice, at least once every 2 weeks, I have somebody come in with a cracked tooth, and I say, all I have to say is, do you like ice cream? Oh, yeah. You like coffee? Oh, yeah. Well, you damn fool. What do you think your enamel is made out of? How did you happen to call up these images?
Well, I knew they were there, and...
How did you know they was there? I mean, have you got some special insight that I don't know?
I put them there, goddammit.
You put them there? Oh, well, hell's fire. How would I know that? This guy's full of magic.
Well, you're the one that has the magic when you sort of mention in my presence Maurice Seymour.
You being in Chicago.
Yeah, that's amazing. Truly amazing. I just love that kind of coincidence. That, you know, if we talked about it the last time I saw you, I wouldn't have had a clue about Maurice Seymour.
Did we talk about Maurice Seymour?
Hell no. I didn't know who Maurice Seymour was until the last... How long was I working on that Songoman, Chris? Within the last year or so.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Otherwise, Seymour is nothing to me.
Oh. Well,
Okay,
he was quite a personality. How remarkable.
I know.
I feel as though I'm in Alice in Wonderland.
Well, yeah, we'll have to get you a copy photo or two. If there's anything that grabs your fancy. Did you have any of his negatives or prints?
Well, I had a whole bunch of his prints, but what I did about 15 years ago when he came to his granddaughter's wedding, I gave all the 8x10 glossies that I had to his daughter, and they were happy to have them.
They're nice prints among the Seuvelman collection because I think they're on double weight paper, and a lot of that stuff is so flimsy on the single weight paper that it just.
Yeah, who is the donor?
Oh, it was a syndicate that